Got a surprise visit from the coach because, you know, between coaches and politicians, I don't know who's tougher to actually nail down for a broadcast, but I got Hurley in here tonight and a special guest, so don't go anywhere. Welcome into My State of Mind. I am Dan York. It is a pleasure and honor to have you aboard. I am going to shorten my usual opining this evening on the issues of the day because when I get some quality time with Coach Hurley and our fallen star. It's been very dramatic, and I don't mean to make light of it, but he's got a good disposition, a good attitude, and a certain future still with URI. E.C. Matthews is on the agenda tonight as well, and if you don't know who he is, hello, get in the ball game, or come to one. How about that? Let's go to the rundown and just check on the DC. Usually there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tonight it's just this one. I want to tell you that Friday's show will be completely focused on that, on the toll issue. We will have guests here to talk about it from a couple of different perspectives, but I could hardly ignore the opening of the General Assembly session yesterday and what was the primary conversation. We've got headlines galore that run around on this whole thing. Governor Raimondo finally reveals the proposed Rhode Island tolling locations for the trucks and other headlines that talk about the same. Look, I could go into this for forever, as you know, because it's not a new conversation for us here or on the radio, weekdays noon to 3 on WPRO. But let me just play up the piece of audio from the Speaker of the House that really reflects how out of touch he really is.
I welcome all great ideas. We've thought about it over an entire summer. We've considered every option we could think of, and according to the economic impact study, the tolling proposal was best for Rhode Islanders.
You know, I don't know how to say this to the Speaker, but the very economic impact study that he asked for, legitimately and correctly, from the governor actually talks about a stimulus dump on the state of Rhode Island worth $500 million. Anybody that dumps $500 million into an economy is going to say, hey, or anybody that reviews whether that there will be good economic impact from $500 million dumped into an economy is going to say, hey, that makes a lot of sense. The question is, how do you pay for it? Who's paying for it? And who eventually is going to pay for it? Right now they say the truckers will pay for it. And when that doesn't work, guess what? We'll pay for it. Here's the map that shows some of the locations here. Now these are just proposed between the state and the Federal Highway Administration, and it's maybe if you got one of those 60-inch screens, maybe you can see it better, but all those dots are the gantries. So I'll be coming through one on 146 every day coming from work. I'll have to check Coach Hurley and see how many he's going to pass through. He may get away with it, you know, because he's living in the southern end of the state, but this is unbelievable what they've got set up here, 14 different tolling locations. And the notion is that we need them to set up the separate authority to create the cash flow to fix the roads and the bridges. But of course the Republicans, like Rep. Morgan, who had a protest rally at the State House about this yesterday, see it very differently.
We don't have to borrow money, we don't have to underwrite it and sell bonds, and we don't have to put up toll booths. So we can start sooner, and we can get the bridges done in the same 10 years.
All right, look, you know, we will break this all down soup to nuts on Friday. I'm sure I'll have some commentary about it tomorrow as well as we see more progress on it. But I have to show you this letter. The State Department of Transportation director wrote this letter to the General Assembly leadership yesterday to kind of outline what some of the, you know, nuts and bolts of this plan are. And he goes through a couple of talking points, but the third one is the one that cracks me up. He writes to the General Assembly leadership, and third, Colonel O'Donnell has assured me that the state police will take action once the gantries are erected to prevent large commercial trucks from exiting the highways to avoid the user fees. Says who? I can't find the colonel. Here's how I visualize the colonel when that letter became public, at his desk like this. Oh my God. I mean, how would the DOT director put on the state police the responsibility to chase trucks who pull off a highway? I mean, do you understand how ridiculous this whole thing has become? So we will try to get commentary from the good colonel, who I'm sure is just trying to figure out what the DOT is trying to do to him. and find out maybe he can write a letter back that says, I didn't say that. That's how crazy and messed up this whole thing is. So we'll cover all that for you as the days go on. I got other things in my mind, but when I get a chance to talk basketball and the coach, I take advantage of it. Here's the box score from last night. Thank goodness for this. And by the way, in case you're not paying attention, URI is on a little bit of a mini roll here. You feel like you're on a little bit of a mini roll here? A little bit?
Yeah, I like it. You know, smiling, happy. When you're making shots, winning games, feel good.
About 10 days ago, it felt like this thing might be going a little south.
Oh, bad.
Huh?
It was sinking a little bit.
15 points down with, what, 8-10 minutes to go against Brown, at Brown. You're throwing chairs.
Well, it was a stool.
chair.
It was a stool. It wasn't a chair. All right.
It wasn't a Bobby Knight.
It was not a chair across the court.
It was a stool.
It was a stool, and the stool's
Four-legged, three-legged,
four-legged.
Four-legged.
Four-legged stool. The stool's fine too. It's still usable. The stool. It took a heck of a beating though, but it was worth it.
So did the officials that night.
It was an intense game.
Yes.
You know, it was an intense game.
And you tend to be an intense guy. We've covered that before.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't have to go through all that again.
Yeah, most coaches are. Most players
Your
are.
brother is too, by the way, I've noticed.
Yeah, he.
Well, he's up 1 on you this year.
Yeah,
He was escorted out of the building the other night at Arizona State. Was he not?
Yeah. You know what? The thing. You know what? To bring it up this early.
You know what? I figure I just get it all.
Yeah,
out, you know, come on.
Let's deal with this now. You know, Bob, listen, was a great athlete.
Yes.
You know, overcame a lot of physical limitations to reach the pinnacle of college, and then a lottery pick. So you have to have a certain competitiveness to get to that level. You know, and then the thing I think with players and coaches on game night that sometimes puts them a little bit over the top is the thousands of hours that we put into this, hundreds of hours of prep that we put into a single game, and then sometimes when that third party comes in and does things you don't like, emotionally it's hard to take.
We've talked about it before. I think you might have surprised some people with your answers the last time that I had you here. When you talked about the officials, and you say, hey, listen, I'm not here to role model this here. These guys are either assets or liabilities in my effort to win ball games, and that's my business, and if you don't like it, lump it. I mean, it's an honest, I mean, that's my paraphrase, but that's your honest experience. I'm just having some fun with it. It's interesting to see the attention that's played to the Hurley thing, between Dad, who is Hall of Famer and has his own modus operandi that is probably not as well understood as people think they understand it, but clearly ultra competitive guy who's got an edge. He's got 2 sons that have it. Gee, surprise, surprise. Yeah. But you had to giggle a little bit.
And it had me thinking about my approach, last night to the game.
How?
Just the way that, obviously, referees are human beings. They watched, I'm sure they saw SportsCenter, so. I was very careful through the first media timeout, into the second one, really picking my spots. It's something that I've thought about, really from day one. It's been my plan. I haven't always executed it to perfection, but it was something that I thought about, picking my spots better. But again, they, the way that they call games, it impacts who wins and loses.
I think what I've learned getting to know you, and I don't think enough people have had a chance to get to know you, how relaxed, comfortable, easy to get along with you can be. And then there's that persona for 40 minutes or if in overtime, whatever, that people see. Yeah. It's quite the puzzle for folks.
Well, sports is a completely different arena, the arena of competition. During that 3-hour practice block, I'm probably not the easiest guy for my players to be around. During that 2-hour, game block, you become somebody different. It's competition. It's like being a gladiator in the Coliseum back in the day. This is it's our livelihood, and it's something we got a lot of pride in.
Yeah,
personal.
When we come back, we'll find out how tough it is, because we got a young man who's seeing it from a different perspective this year, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, because I think I heard him say on the network that he's doing a little coaching himself. We'll be right back. The first formal ball game of the season versus, who's that? American? Is that who you or I played? And by the way, full disclosure, if you don't know this already, I'm the public address announcer for this program, and feel like I'm kind of part of the group. It's not that I won't ask the coach a couple of uncomfortable questions. I already got into his brother, right? So you know we're going to have that. We don't have the video of the fall, and you're pleased about that because you haven't even looked at it, have you?
Definitely, I don't want to. It was a kind of nightmare night, so I don't want to relive it.
You all right? How you
I'm
feeling?
good now. It's over and done with. That was probably like the worst part, so it's all about coming back now.
E.C. Matthews, folks, touted as probably the best player in the Atlantic 10 Conference, no doubt. Expectations at perhaps the highest level the program has had in its recent history, or maybe beyond. And not talking out of school, but we had a whole program established for when you scored your 1,000th point, you were going to stop the game, da-da-da, say a couple things, because you started with 999.
Right.
And right now in your career, how many do you have?
999.
999.
Yeah.
You went down in the lane before you even could score a basket. Did you know when you hit the floor that this thing was bad?
I never felt or heard anything like that, like ever. So when it happened, I knew it was pretty serious. I just didn't know I tore my ACL.
You walked out. You walked back. We all went, uh-oh. One good. Your body language was perhaps worse than watching the pain, all due respect.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you know, he's such a tough guy, and you know, he barely missed practice last year with 2 major injuries. So it was weird for me because I walked away thinking he was going to be getting up shortly, and then I kept asking for him the rest of the first half. When's he back? Is he good? Is he coming back? And no one said a word when I asked the questions. And then when I walked into the tunnel, that's when the doc got me. Brutal stuff. Brutal.
Took you a couple, 3 games to get over it.
Longer than that, you know. That was hard.
You never get over it because I know you got a relationship with him in addition to the asset that he is to the team. But it took a while to get over this one.
Yeah, I mean, this you're still getting over it. I mean, you know, we got a job to do. You know, but this is a guy that came to our program, our university, where we didn't have a whole lot going, and he did. And that's what hurt, you know, hurt me, and hurt us so much collectively because of how much he's meant to us flipping this thing. And the decision he made when he decided to come here, I'm not really sure why he did it, but he did it, and it's meant everything to us. And to see him go down like that, I'd never been involved with something like that. The closest thing for me was my brother in his car accident in the NBA.
Well, I mean, that's pretty powerful because that was pretty powerful. I mean, that was brutal for you and your family. Knowing he feels this way about you means what to you?
It means everything. If anything, I think out of all this, we came like a little bit more closer, and I think the team came a little bit more closer too. So even though it was like very negative, I think like all the guys are like taking like every positive thing from this, and we'll be better in the long run, especially when I come back.
You had the operation.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a knee. It's an MCL. ACL?
ACL.
A. Which is worse, A or M?
Yeah, they both
are no good.
Yeah,
They both.
If you can avoid them, then
They
it's
both
good.
end a season for the most part. You had the operation. Prognosis is?
Doc's saying 5 months. I'm gonna say 5 months.
Okay, but good for next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he you know, got the best surgeon. Surgeon's the only one that's actually seen the play. Surgeon studied the way he fell with the injury.
The only one who's seen the play between you two?
Between us two and the doc and Regina, I think he's probably, and Mom. That's.
You haven't seen the play either?
I won't look at it. I can't look at it.
And you haven't seen the play?
Can't look at it either.
No.
You'll never watch it?
Never.
Really?
I mean, it has to happen to you. I relive moments and then I can like feel it a little bit in my knee like sometimes, and it just it's the worst. It's the worst thing.
Well, we'll worry about this next year when we have you up, because the last thing I want to do is get in your head. But I would imagine, no, seriously, I mean that. Injuries are as much psychological as they are physical after the recovery. In fact, it's Hassan Martin, who I'm sure we've got video of, Kev, who is your buddy, you know, very close friend, right? And other star player. He goes down with an ankle a couple, 3 games ago, and I could even see him last night. Tentative. It's probably healed, but the head doesn't know it's healed, right? And so there's a tentativeness that goes along with recovering from an injury. You'll have that for some period of time until it goes away. Are you worried about that, or are you just are you confident that you'll be all right? Are you thinking that way?
I believe so. I think like I said, out of all this, is mentally I have to get the strongest. I think my body will take care of itself. So if I can get to where I'm at and like trust how I always played, I think I'll be fine.
What are you doing mentoring now? So you can't play. I mean, you mentioned at a couple of conferences. In fact, I saw you on I think in Cancun on the ESPN broadcast, where you kind of mentioned you're doing a little coaching.
Yeah.
A little evaluating across the table a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just trying to soak
letting
in.
them know, checking them off for timeouts.
You're second guessing a lot of the defensive calls and offensive calls.
No,
right?
Really?
Yeah, just trying to soak in as much as possible. Like I said, I don't want this to be a waste. You know, as much time as I'm sitting now, I want to like learn and get better.
So what have you seen watching? What have you seen? What's the one thing you think that you've been able to observe about your ball club that you may not have observed while you were participating on the floor?
Just their moods and how they react to like certain things, like good or bad. And like I was the worst when I was playing, but like this game is really all mental, and like that's what it's all about. And there's so much like time in the game that you can't really like be disappointed at like certain errors you make. So I feel like that's like the biggest.
Are you bringing the guys aside, saying, "By the way, I know coach is it, but you know, I'm seeing something"?
Definitely, like when my voice needs to be heard, I would grab a player or two and like talk to them and tell them what I see, or I'll grab like the whole team and tell them what needs to be done.
You want that?
Absolutely. I mean, we didn't just lose our best player. We lost our hardest worker. We lost our best leader, and he's done an amazing job with the freshmen, building their confidence, giving them things that they could do to be better. Jared, Terrell, Jarvis Garrett, still young players. Supporting them. Karan Iverson going through really his first year of college basketball as a real player. He's been a huge, huge help to those guys. And the weakest part of his game, was the mental game. And you're going to see that become, one of the strongest parts of his game when the year's over.
You sick and tired of watching coverage of URI referring to the team that lost its best player?
I am. I feel like we have so many weapons on our team. I feel like we will still have a great season without me.
Good segue. We'll talk about what's to come, because I think there could be some better things to come than some people are thinking. Stay with us. Actually, we aired the segment during the break. These guys are having a conversation about whether or not, do you really kind of second guess on it? So you're asking whether to,
no,
and you say never, I never second guess a coach, right?
No.
Ever?
Trying to get me in trouble.
Well, but what I think maybe you ought to just kind of step in, and we'll see how much this love relationship's going on.
So you can
2 minutes to go, game's tied. He calls a play. You step in, kind of say, Danny, I'm thinking about something different here.
Give me the ball. Give me the ball.
He said something profound, I think, which is that there's a lot more athletes on this ball club. You guys, I think, went through a little bit of mourning period, having lost him. Then Hassan Martin trips up with, thankfully, not as serious an injury, and then Karan Iverson has an injury. You go to Brown, you look like this whole thing is about ready to fall into the turlet, right, as they say in New York and New Jersey, or our grandparents do. And it turns around, you come back, you win in dramatic style, and now you've won 2 in the Atlantic 10. Now everybody's talking about a team that, even without its star, might just do what it was destined to do. Do you think that can happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all angry, frustrated, sad for a while, and we've now turned that and used that as fuel, to be more determined. Obviously, we have reinvented ourselves a little bit, and the guys are starting to get comfortable and starting to get confident. They feel you know, the way that we've kind of reinvented ourselves, and you know, the way that we've played, not just in the last couple wins, but in the way we played against Providence, you know, the way we played on the road against Nebraska. You know, we've been there. We could very easily, you know, without an NBA draft pick and without one of the best guards in the country, we could easily right now have 12 or 13 wins as is, so we feel like it's going to get better.
Might you get more out of players on the roster having lost DC than having not lost DC?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for them for this year. Obviously, guys now can really be aggressive and assertive and really establish their roles. And then what this is going to do for us, obviously, taking the long view going into next year is going to be great too.
Buzzer beater with Providence. That must have killed you. Must have killed both of you. 74-72.
I want to see his reaction first.
What was your reaction?
We played our hearts out like the whole game, and for it
Unbelievable.
to end that way, it was unfair.
Great atmosphere.
Great atmosphere.
Cooley said something I thought was both classy and crafty after the game. He talked about it being perhaps the toughest environment he'd ever played in at the Ryan Center, as loud as it was and as crazy as it was. And he said, you know, if this kind of remains, it's going to be awful tough for anybody to win. And there was a kind of sense of, but we know it won't because it doesn't sell out enough. I got both messages from him.
Mm-hmm.
That place, if it is nuts, is got to be worth how many points to a home club?
6 to 8.
6 to 8 points.
No, that's like having an extra player. I mean, you know, when they have that type of energy, you know, it's you know, you've seen Dayton.
My alma mater. Don't hold it against me. It's amazing. You played a game at Brown that was a URI home game. I think there were probably a couple thousand people who were Providence-centric citizens who went to the Brown game that need to get to Kingston. Don't you agree?
Well, I tell you what, that was, the stool got a lot of attention, but that our Rhode Island fans that night
Awesome.
were awesome.
All right. Well, I don't expect you to do any whining 4 years in about the attendance. The attendance will follow the success, but I think guys who know the game know that attendance can be a precursor to success.
Yeah.
So go ahead and put a 30-second signature on that thought. Yes? No?
I mean, a huge impact. You know, and I think we're loaded up. I think for the rest of the year, you know, for it to be a great thing for our fans to rally around. We have a chance to have a really good team this year, and then obviously going into next year, getting this guy back, you know, having our best recruiting class. No offense, because you know you came in with 2 guys. It's a 4-man class. Best recruiting class coming in. Stan Robinson sitting out. Everyone, you know, returning except Earl and 4. It's only going to get bigger and better. Come now.
You have a concrete goal to get to the NCAA tournament, or is it one game at a time at this point?
We have the same goals. I mean, as great a player as EC is, as important as he is to us, our goals haven't changed. We're taking this one game at a time, and you know, we believe that we're in the hunt for a championship this year.
Come back before the end of the year, will you?
Will
Good to
do.
see you. All right. Communications major, broadcaster.
He's gonna be in your seat someday,
Huh?
maybe. Be running a show in here.
Well, he's going to have to
out.
get tougher with you first.
No doubt.
Good to see you. Congratulations on a great season to come and what you've done. Good for the program. You'll be all right. We'll come back, but a lot of words. Stay with us. Seriously, buy some tickets. You know, PC's doing well, and it matters. You know, when it comes to attendance, buy some tickets for Rhodey basketball, will you? It'd be good for the program. Good for the state. It's better than tolls. That's what I gotta say. Hey, listen, speaking of expense, the RIPTA expense for the elderly, you know, the buses, we'll talk about that tomorrow. And I'll see you on the radio at noon on WPRO. Thanks for watching. Go Rhodey.